I read on your website that women, Satan, and feminism are closely connected to one another. Can you explain that to me?
It's the same thing you look at throughout history. You look at things like Satan and you look at women. The two have been persecuted without real inquiry into why they're persecuted. It's just sort of an assumption. It's something we're told to do, especially in any society that's heavily Judeo-Christian in values.
Christianity has persecuted women, Satan, and feminism?
I'd say so.
She's also a feminist as spokesperson for the Satanic Temple of Los Angeles. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
What does Satan believe?
He challenged God's authority, and he probably wasn't happy with the will that God was sending him to do these things like killing people. So I think him and some of the angels got together at some point and went to God and said, why do you have all this power? And he, our interpretation, at least mine, is that God probably felt threatened having his authority challenged, so he cast Lucifer and those angels out. And that's kind of how we feel. We're outcasts. We feel like we've always been on the fringes of society and never really fit in somewhere, and that certainly stands in politics and ideology.
Do you personally challenge God's authority?
I don't believe in God, so I don't challenge his authority.
Do you believe in good and evil? Good or evil?
I think there's gray area in between. I don't think it's so black and white, but I mean, I believe there are good people and bad people.
What's the gray area?
I think that's where the idea of sin comes in. People get lost somewhere along the way in their life, and they're generally cast out. People succumb to drug addiction or theft, things that maybe they had no choice but to fall into those situations. Generally, that's seen as sinning, so that would be considered being bad.
Right.
I think that falls into that gray area where people along the way in the path of their life, they kind of lose their path and they might make bad choices, but they can fall back on the path. And I don't personally feel like I need God to do that. When I've had hardship in my life, I never felt like I had to rely on a higher power. I felt like it was always up to me.
I read that at the Holocaust Museum, you teach children and teenagers about genocide, racism, and social activism. The people who hired you, are they aware that you're a Satanist? And they still allow you to teach there?
Yeah.
Are you surprised?
No, I mean, what we teach is tolerance.
The Holocaust, was that an evil act or good or gray area?
Certainly an evil act.
But you don't believe in evil?
Not evil in the biblical sense, but in a bad sense.
Are you evil or good or gray?
I think I'm a good person.
You're a good person. And what made you good? How is that you're a good person?
I care for others.
So you teach about racism. Define racism for me.
Hatred towards another race or skin color.
I've never met a person who hate another person just based on color alone. Have you?
I have.
You have? Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I was actually a student I had at the museum. We started talking about Black Lives Matters. I was talking about Martin Luther King Jr. and civil rights movements today. And he kind of interrupted me and said that he thought Black Lives Matters was people trying to incite a race war. And that really disturbed me. So I pulled him aside at one point and I kind of just asked him. I didn't challenge his opinions. I just wanted to understand why he felt that way. But my understanding is that he grew up in a household that instilled those ideas into his head.
So I can see that Black Lives Matter is an evil group. They're worse than the KKK. They are trying to stir up a war between the races, a race war. Am I racist?
I don't think you're a racist if you feel that way.
But the white guy, you just said the white guy was a racist, or is a racist for feeling that way?
Well, I don't know if I would call him a racist necessarily because he was so young.
What do you think about how I feel about Black Lives Matter? It's an evil, dirty group, agitator group of people, and they're no different or maybe even worse than the KKK. What do you think about me feeling that way?
Do you really feel that way?
100%.
You do? That they're worse than the KKK?
Yes.
I mean, I feel like I can't comment on that because I'm white. So I feel like that's generally between different ethnic groups and people of different skin colors. So I feel like I can't comment on your feelings and opinions towards an organization around your own ethnicity.
How about if I said that about a white group? Would you comment then? If I said the KKK is evil, you know, a evil group of white people, would you comment then?
I would agree with you on a personal standpoint, and also because you are not white, there might be, that to me is racism. It's between different ethnic groups and skin colors.
How you come up with this? Where do you come from?
Where do I come from? From LA.
How are you coming up with this?
Just my thoughts.
What do you say to a person like me who realized that racism is an illusion and it's made up by people who are liars and they want to control a group of people, like the black race hustlers want to control the white folks in order to gain power and wealth, so they keep black people angry, pretending that racism exists so they can use them to go after the whites so they can gain power and wealth. What would you say to me?
That's an interesting opinion I've never heard before.
You've never heard that?
Mm-mm.
Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. Will you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes sense?
It does make sense. I see what you're saying.
I read on your website that women, Satan, and feminism are closely connected to one another. Can you explain that to me?
Mm-hmm. It's the same thing you look at throughout history. You look at things like Satan and you look at women. The two have been persecuted without real inquiry into why they're persecuted. It's just sort of an assumption. It's something we're told to do, especially in any society that's heavily Judeo-Christian in values.
Christianity has persecuted women, Satan, and feminism?
I'd say so.
So women are close to Satan. They can identify with Satan.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think us in our situation, we don't identify with Satan, but the act that he did in the Bible is something that we're experiencing today, challenging theocracy, challenging authority where there shouldn't be.
So how long have you been a feminist?
Probably ever since I kind of could comprehend what a feminist was or what it meant to be a feminist.
And what is it?
A feminist? Just equal rights. I'm not burning my bra, or I don't hate men, but I believe that there is a huge difference between equal rights. Women don't have access to a lot of the things that men do. We are treated very unfairly in society, culturally, and that's a lot of what our concern is that the church steps in there and has a huge role in that. I think once I could first kind of perceive what that was and those issues, and they started to scare me as a woman, as a US citizen, that particularly men, because of their ideological standpoint, want to control my body and my personal life. That's very frightening to me.
And how do men want to control your body and your personal life?
Well, in terms of Christianity, Catholicism, you see that the story of Eve, she was sort of the first person who bit from the apple from the tree of knowledge. She was the first one, I suppose, who interacted with Satan. And Orthodox Judaism, women can't pray or oftentimes eat in the same places that the men do. In Islam, women have to cover their bodies. And we have that here in any major Judeo-Christian society. You go to a tribal society somewhere, you'll see the same thing when women are menstruating. They have to go live on the outskirts of the village.
But I don't think you'll find that in America today. In America today, women can do whatever they want.
Not exactly.
Give me something that they can't do in America today.
There's places where you can't get an abortion, or at least not without scrutiny.
But that's because that location has decided not to perform an abortion. But because it's legal to have an abortion in America, you can have an abortion. And you can almost go into any clinic in a hospital and have an abortion.
Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, women don't have access to that everywhere in our country, so they have to rely on really dangerous methods like, falling down a staircase hoping the child is killed because it's...
You don't believe that.
What's that?
You don't believe that.
I've read of situations where women had to induce a termination of a pregnancy because they couldn't get access to an abortion.
But that's ridiculous. They can go anywhere and have an abortion now.
No. Well, I think this was in the late 90s.
Oh, that's not today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about today.
Today?
Women can have an abortion anywhere. And the government pays for it. We pay for it.
How about the waiting period? There's clinics where they force a 72-hour wait period.
Yeah. That's a good thing, Why should women have the right to kill an unborn child?
Well, that's one of our core tenets, is we believe that you're subject to your own will. Nobody should be controlling what you do with your body.
But you're not killing your body. You're killing someone else's body.
Mm-hmm. And that begs
Do you have a right over that human being or that person's body to kill it?
I guess that goes even deeper when what constitutes as a life. When does someone become just a cluster of cells, and when do they become a human being?
The moment of conception is become a life. So I want to know, do you consider it someone else's body that's inside of your body?
I would say so. But
and so what gives you the right to take that person's life?
That's a good point. You have to argue. I think it's ultimately up to the woman to decide, since it's her child. She's the one carrying it to term for 9 months in her body. She should be making the calls. And I'm not advocating abortion in general. I'm not saying that every woman should be getting an abortion if she's not entirely content at that moment with the idea of having a child. But I believe that that's ultimately the woman's decision, and that's what we fight for.
Should the father have a say-so when it comes to aborting a baby?
I think
baby?
I think he should be involved in the conversation, but he is not carrying the child. He's not part of the biological process other than having inseminated the egg. So if there was something like a seahorse where the male took over pregnancy for a while carrying the baby, that's something different. But human beings, human males, it's a physiological difference. It still frustrates me that men feel that they have an authoritative stance on this, and that because the difference between you and I is...
The women who are making these decisions are feeling the same way. They feel like they're in control, they should make that decision, and the man shouldn't have any say-so about it.
I would agree with that.
But so if you're upset at the men for feeling that way, why would you turn around and do the same thing?
Well, let's say I was pregnant and I wasn't sure if I was ready to have a child, and it was not a planned pregnancy. I would include the father in that conversation. The situation is very specific. If there was some situation where the outcome of that conversation results in us deciding to have a child together, that's great, and you carry the pregnancy to term and you have the child. If you have that conversation, the mother and the father have that conversation, and the mother is feeling like she's just not ready, she's not in a position where she can provide for the child, she's not in a position where she personally feels ready to have a child, I think because she is carrying the child, carrying out the biological aspect of that process, it's up to her to decide what she does with her body.
So if the father says, no, I don't want you to have an abortion, and you said, I want to have this abortion, I don't want a baby, I'm not ready, and he says, you know what, I want my child, I'll take care of it, you don't have to worry about it. Should he have that right to stop you from doing this? Is he willing to take care of that child?
If he loves me enough, he'll stick around till I'm ready.
No, but I'm talking about the baby.
I think it's up to the woman to decide what she does with her body.
But it's his baby. It wasn't for him, there would be no baby.
Yeah, that definitely is
and
true,
the only
but
thing
he's
that
not
the woman,
carrying the baby.
The only thing that the woman is doing is carrying the baby. Mm-hmm. She has no other role. So why not just carry the baby for 9 months?
That's a big responsibility.
Amazing. Were you repulsed at the video of Planned Parenthood selling baby body parts for profit?
I believe that was debunked.
No, it wasn't.
I believe it was debunked.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Well, I'll double check that later.
What do you think about that they were doing that?
To my understanding, that wasn't true. That was a smear campaign against Planned Parenthood.
But it wasn't. It was proven to be true. I mean, you saw the women on video, the doctors on video, telling the interviewer what they were doing to the baby body parts.
To my understanding, those were actors, but I think our sources are just
come
different.
on, Allie.
If I had known you wanted to talk about this, I would have come more. We could compare sources.
No, we were talking about abortion. You knew we were going to talk about abortion.
Yeah.
But
to my understanding, though, what I came with is that those were debunked as smear campaigns, and a lot of those videos were completely made
up. And that's
up.
what you want to believe?
That's what I believe.
Let's say that is true, and you knew 100% that it was true. Then how would you feel about it?
A woman is trying to go into a clinic, not even for an abortion, just for things like a mammogram, and she's harassed by people standing out front. That's very scary. So we, again, believe that women have a right to healthcare access.
But the folks who disagree also has a right to protest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can tell you numbers of women who have just had abortions because they didn't want to ruin their careers. They thought of themselves first. They were mad at the father for impregnating them or whatever the issues, and they get abortions for those reasons.
That's up to the woman to decide. You know, I have why a woman chooses to get an abortion, I think is nobody's business but the woman herself.
And the father of the baby.
She can obviously include him, but ultimately because the woman is the one who's going to carry the child for 9 months, her body's going to change, her whole entire life is going to change. There's a lot more obligations for a mother than a father, I think, biological and social and cultural. And so ultimately she bears the responsibility, so she gets to call the shots as far as what happens.
So what are you guys doing right now? What do you have going on right now?
A number of campaigns. We recently had a protest concerning a organization called ISSTD, who are psychologists who advocate things like, they were responsible for the death of an 8-year-old boy named Jude Mira, who had autism, and they told him that his autism was actually the byproduct of him being molested by Satanists, although there was absolutely no evidence supporting that. So the mother got to a point where she felt hopeless, and she wound up killing her own son. So they advocate these ideas of witch hunting and pseudoscience, and they had a conference 2 or 3 weeks ago in San Francisco, so we went up and protested that. There's, in Arizona, there's a lawsuit between the temple and the state regarding prayer. We have children's books we distribute in Florida. In New Orleans, there's some stuff with repairing potholes in the city. We have socks for Satan, so we give socks to the homeless.
Socks for Satan. Is it possible that you could be deceived and believe that you're doing good, but you're really not?
Absolutely. I think everyone has their own opinion. We're very prideful creatures, human beings.
Thanks for watching The Fallen State. We need your continued support. Donate to my nonprofit here. Subscribe and like the videos here. And tell everybody and their mama about the show.